The United States military has one job, and that's to go overseas and break stuff and kill people in the event of them needing to do so. And every decision should be boiled down to, does it make us a more effective warfighting force, or does it not? If it does, then you should do it, irrespective of cost, irrespective of social heartburn that it might create, and irrespective of really anything other than that singular goal of, is this what we're here to do or not? And it really needs to stay that simple. Of a warfighting force, so whether or not women should be in certain roles or transgenders should be allowed, or any of those things, to me, I'm reminded of the Jeff Goldblum quote in Jurassic Park, which is where he says, we've spent so much time thinking about whether or not we could or couldn't, we never stop to think whether or not we should or shouldn't, in relation to pulling the DNA out of a mosquito in ant.
I could not have said it better myself. Mike Ritland on the PBD podcast talking about women in the SEAL teams. So I was on a mentorship call with a young lady today, and she wants to go Special Forces. And I didn't tell her not to go. I just managed her. I didn't tell her not to go. I didn't tell her not to put her packet in, but I just set the scene for her as far as what she was getting herself into. My mentorship program, that's what I do. Raw, uncut feedback. War is pretty brutal. I want to make sure you guys know exactly what you're going into. So if you need mentorship, guys, which I always recommend you seek it out, check out the description box below. Go to the Patreon, go to GreenBeretChronicles.com, jump on a call with me, get any of the programs to help you get to where you want to be.
Or whatever, and to me it's very much that way, is that trying to prove that women can do certain things, or that transgenders can fit into certain elements, to me I think misses the boat. Is that to me that's not the place to do that. If you want to have an experiment that way, then do it in the Olympics, do it in collegiate sports first.
So Mike makes a really good point. By the way, awesome dude. I went down and did the Mic Drop podcast. If you guys haven't seen it, make sure you go check it out. The military, Special Forces to be exact, where I used to work for the past 15 years, we shouldn't be conducting experiments there, because when you do, people fucking die. That's the reality of it. So instead of seeing if they can do the job or if they are equipped to run and gun with the rest of us, why don't you try it in a sports setting, right? Like UFC, for example, is a good one, right? MMA, like that is a good way to figure out if the transgenders, if the women, if they can hang with the men. Because it's a brutal sport. It's literally trying to hurt somebody. War is the ultimate sport. Only at the end of the day at war, you don't come back home.
If you want to try something out, try it there where people's lives aren't on the line, because if you'll notice, there's a pretty stark contrast between men and women in competition as it relates at a world-class level. Well, in the military, and especially in special operations, it's absolutely no different. There is a huge disparity between sexes when it comes to combative everything. Take the UFC.
Dude, I remember we were at SEER school, and we're going through the evading section of SEER school, right? And we had to get across this freaking river, and we had one female with us. It was a CA. I think she was a medic, right? She was going through the course. And my captain at the time, he was in charge of the team, and he's, getting everybody across the river. And this girl just would not fucking cross. She refused to cross for whatever fucking reason she had. She just wouldn't do it. And now the entire team is across the river, and we got dogs chasing us, and it's time to fucking go. And we're on the other side pulling security, and we look back. And this dude was like 6'5", 6'6", big fucking blonde hair dude. And he's no shit cradling this fucking chick. Like he's carrying her like a baby across the river. And I remember looking back saying, oh man, I'm glad I don't have to deal with that shit on a fucking team. That was 2010, right? Times have clearly changed.
See, as an example, there's a reason there's men and women's competition classes. Why is there not a push to make that co-ed? There's not. Why isn't there? Why?
Mike is just dropping straight knowledge right there, because there isn't. Why? Because the political agenda can't mess with those private entities, those private companies. The military, it's a playground for politicians and their social experiment, unfortunately. When you look at private companies like NBA, WNBA, UFC, the government can't touch that. They can't say, hey, instead of having the NBA, just have one entity where female and male are playing in the same league. Same thing with the UFC, right? Like, because the government can't go mingle within that space. That's why they're using the military as their fucking place to experiment. That's exactly why. Let's keep watching.
Why is there a push to have women Navy SEALs and women Rangers and Green Berets, but nobody gives a shit to have a 155-pound woman face Conor McGregor in the ring? Why not? Why is there not the
Guys, what do you think would happen if Conor McGregor went up against Ronda Rousey?
the same level of bordering on vitriol for that competitive equality that exists when the reality of it is whether you take the Olympics or the UFC, is that everybody knows what the actual result would be, and that would be an outclassing, and I think very few, if any, women would win anything, and that's why there are women's divisions in both the Olympics, collegiate sports, as well as thirdly being the UFC.
Man, Mike is just making too much sense, right? Guys, the Olympics is actually going on right now, and I've watched some of those races because track and field is my sport along with swimming. You can see the times that the male are hitting versus the time that the females are hitting. Complete fucking night and day, all right? That would make sense to me. If you want to conduct any type of social experiment, I think the Olympics would allow you to do it at the highest level, right? So I don't know. Mike has a good point there. Let's keep watching.
That led to two different parts. What part of that do you think is the guy at the top who runs UFC? Because there's no way in the world he's going to tolerate that. You know what I'm saying? Where he's not a personality that is like, well, I think it's fair. We have to be fair. And what about this and people's feelings? How much of it you think has to do with him, and how much of it has to do with media pressure and organizations to want to get to that point?
UFC specific, unquestionably that's a factor. However, there's no media pressure for that. Why isn't there? Why is there so much media pressure on female SEALs, Green Berets, Rangers, etc.? Absolutely zero when it comes to why aren't there just Olympic events? Why are there male, female? There's no heartburn with that. So UFC, yeah, you could say Dana White maybe has the personality that would make it bordering on impossible to do that anyway, but there's not even the effort to make that happen. On the other hand, there's also a number of other competitive or combative sports leagues. There's Bellator, there's a bunch of smaller ones where there's absolutely no push for that either. And again, I would say collegiate sports, zero. There's crickets. Why is there an LPGA? Why is there a WNBA? Why is there not a push to have all of these women who play in those leagues play in the NBA and mandate that there's a 50-50 percentage or a 60-40 or whatever the population is to reflect that? There's absolutely none. Why not?
I'll tell you why, Mike, because everybody else has fucking common sense. The government and these politicians don't. That's why. Because they know exactly what would fucking happen. And at the end of the day, they don't want their fucking daughters and their sons dealing with that bullshit. But the military, though, that's a safe space to experiment. Like, fuck those dudes. Fuck those people. We can let them figure that shit out, right? If we want to see what works, let's do it over there. That's how I look at it. My 2 cents.
To me, the fact that there is such pushback and such aggressiveness when it comes to proving that women can do certain things, I have no doubt that there are some women out there that can physically do certain things that any man can do. There's you can watch a CrossFit competition and see that for sure there are some that could probably make it through. My point is that from a warfighting effectiveness standpoint, it doesn't matter, you know.
Mike is right. I've seen some fucking beefy, I'm talking about beefy females. Like, you think I'm big? I've seen some that are bigger than me. And I know and met some that can fucking crush some of these events that we go through in special operation training, selection, and the Q course. So they do exist. However, it's not just physical. There's a lot more that plays into it.
And the reason it doesn't matter is because when you interject different sexes into those types of roles, it causes problems. My idea or fix or whatever, not that I'm individual in thinking this, there's a number of us that do, is I would say.
So to Mike's point, when you inject females into an all-male entity, things change. Guys have a way of losing their shit when there's pussy in the room. That's just the reality of it. Guys lose their fucking shit as soon as a piece of ass walk into a fucking room. 2010, we are in Afghanistan conducting village stability operations. That is when McChrystal and everyone else was trying to, push the counterinsurgency theme, right? During that era, we had what was called CST, Cultural Support Teams. That's what the Army called their version. The Marine had a version of it. The Air Force had a version of it. All the branches had a version of this. And the intent was, like, these 3 females would get attached to a team of fucking Green Berets, to a team of fucking meat eaters out in a village somewhere, on a fob somewhere, for 6 to 9 months at a time. And whenever the team goes out, they would go out with us and they would just be used to search females. Guess what happened? Several team sergeants got fired because the team sergeants were fighting with the junior Bravo, because the junior Bravo and the team sergeant was sleeping with the same chick. Fucking Junior Bravo was fighting with the Junior Echo because they were sleeping with the captain, and the E6s were sleeping with the fucking team sergeant. Teams just imploded, right? Like, that was happening all over country. CSTs were getting pregnant. Guys were getting kicked out of country. Now, I'm sure the brats knew that was going to happen, or maybe they didn't. But when you put a piece of ass in a group full of fucking dudes, guess what? Dudes are going to be dudes. Females are going to be females, regardless of what they say. Because they might tell you, I'm a professional, my career is more important. All it takes is that one fucking dude that does it for her. And it's out the fucking window, right? Let's keep watching.
They just have female special operations units that are all female, the same way Israel has had actually enormous success with. There doesn't need to be female SEALs. There could be female whatever,
Now, I agree with Mike on this point. Like, I've been to Israel and I've worked with some of their female snipers and their female special operators, and they are fucking badass. They're really good at what they do. And Israel isn't the only ones doing it, right? We have units within the United States that have females doing female stuff, what females are really, really fucking good at. And they crush it. So the blueprint already exists. But again, the social experiments within the military, the political agendas, the DEI bullshit is what's forcing all these different agendas into our ranks. And all it's doing is just destroying the fucking entities as we know it. Let's keep watching.
Special operations detachment or unit that you want to stand up from scratch and have it be all women. I've got no problem with that. There are a number of applications where women, I think, are better suited than men in certain, especially covert operations, where women, especially in certain parts of the Middle East that you can relate to, where women have far more access and far less microscope on them in terms of getting into certain areas versus not, because they're women and they're going to be given a pass. I'm not saying that they shouldn't, have a role in combat. I think, well, for starters, they already do. Which I'm not going to get into any further than that, but there's no shortage of women that are already doing things that most people never hear about that that are absolutely beneficial and worthwhile and should be applauded. However, in my opinion, and I can say 98.9% of all other special operators' opinions out there, former or active, mirrors that same thing.
So, now I agree with Mike. Like, we all fucking think this is a bad idea. Like, I remember when they were rolling this out as far as this female and special forces type deal, they sent out a bunch of surveys. And the surveys came back lit. Like, there was just feedback after feedback after feedback as to why that was a bad fucking idea, right? It ranges from team room dynamics, how guys are just going to end up fighting each other over a piece of ass. It brought up, issues from spouses that didn't want females around their husbands because they don't trust females. It also included, the fact that we as a community knew that standards were going to be dropped, and the standards were dropped. How so? Log PT, its selection is no longer a thing. Rifle PT, its selection is no longer a thing. The Trek is gone. Guys, those 3 events were the hardest part of selection for me. 3 hours of log PT, 3 hours of rifle PT, fucking crushed me.
So let me ask you this. So you're not saying no to women getting into special operations. You're talking about separate the two and they're able to go in a different direction than maybe the men are going. So right now, when you went to Buds, was it all men?
Yes.
When you went to Buds? Because you went Buds what year? It was
97.
97. So are you in high school class of 96 or 97?
96.
96.
Yeah.
So we're the same year. I'm also class of 96.
Yeah.
So graduate 96, then you go to Buds in 97. There are no women in your class at all in 97.
Correct.
How about today?
To my knowledge, there still hasn't been any women that have actually classed up. There's been a couple that have tried and have either failed or quit in the pre-training phase, which is at Great Lakes, which is in Great Lakes, Illinois. Just after boot camp, there's a couple month pre-training period that is supposed to get prospective.
So as far as I know, there hasn't been a Navy SEAL female yet. We're not talking about G.I. Jane. All right, guys, let me know in the comment section below if that's still the case. Now, I know there's been several different Green Beret females that's gone through, but no Navy SEALs yet, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, right? Let me know in the comment section below.
Students ready to be a little better prepared for Buds, but none of them, to my knowledge, have made it past that.
So what's your concern? What's your concern since it's not?
I guess
it hasn't happened yet.
I mean, my concern is the principle of it is the push to make that avenue available when that very simple question of does this make us a more effective warfighting force? In my opinion, no, it doesn't. In my opinion, it causes far more problems, and so I do think it is that black and white. When it comes to your mission is very black and white, you can reduce those decisions in terms of whether or not it makes us at a higher capacity or not very black and white.
So does female in special operation make us a better or a more effective force? Specifically, Green Berets, Navy SEALs, combat controllers, all that jazz. Does that make us a better fighting force? Let me know in the comment section below, guys, because again, I have my opinion on it. I think you guys already know where I stand, but I'm eager to hear what you guys think, right? Let me know in the comment section below. And again, guys, if you're thinking about joining the Army, going special operations, or if you're just a guy that just don't know how to tie your goddamn shoe and you get lost in the woods, again, GreenBeretChronicles.com. Check out the Patriot link in the comment section below, guys. Join the community. I'll do everything that I can to help you. I appreciate you guys watching. Until next time, take care of yourselves.